Look, there's a bird, dude. It knows what's good. I'm telling you, I just heard it inside.
How to beat Dank Ops Arcade 2. Now, I don't normally do tutorials, but I'm surprised that I am the first one on YouTube to make a How to Beat Dead Ops Arcade 2 guide. And honestly, there really isn't a technical end to Dead Ops Arcade 2, but beating it is obviously getting to the damn last stage. Now, this guide is recommended for you either being by yourself or with a friend, because if you go in with either 3 or 4 players, and if they are not experienced, they can actually leech your lives and take them away from you while you're playing, which is probably the worst part, in my opinion, to Dead Ops Arcade 2, because I've had so many randoms just join in my game, absolutely destroy them. It's probably the worst. So remember to lock your games, boys. Hide your kids, hide your wives, because this is gonna get ugly. Now, I'm going to be referencing the Cyber Silverback's journey, which would be this picture, and this trail would be what would show up if you actually managed to beat the Cyber Silverback. And in total, to get to him and destroy him, you have to go through 64 rounds. Now, I know it might sound a bit crazy for the average zombie player, but to be honest, guys, it is possible, and it really is not as hard as it would seem with like regular zombies getting to round 64. Now, let's start off with the first 2 stages, and to be honest, I don't really need to say much because they're just that simple. The first one is the Skull Island. You literally just need to go through zombies, get a hand of the controls, I guess you could say there. And then the second stage is the harbor, and at the harbor, all you're really introduced to is the occasional barrel spawning in, and also perhaps maybe Cyber Silverback coming around or once every couple rounds. But that's really it. It's really simple. And the third stage, I don't really know what it's called. It just kind of looks like a deserty room place. This is where you're introduced to the cows or the bulls that run through the map, and this is a very crucial stage because there's a point where you have to actually do a race, and if you don't manage to beat this race, then you will not be able to go to something called the Room of Judgment, which is actually able to upgrade your Room of Fate ability. So let's say you get the Death Machine, and if you get to the Room of Judgment, you can get like a really powerful Death Machine, not just your shitty regular Death Machine. So it is important, it is 100% crucial that you manage to beat this race by killing zombies, by using the boost, by pressing X on your controller. And if you don't manage to beat it, I highly recommend restarting your game until you beat it, because it is that crucial. And with the bulls, just keep your eye out. It's pretty simple, and once you beat it, you'll be rewarded with a temporary award, and then I'll show you where the Room of Judgment actually is. Now, on to the fourth stage. This is where you're introduced to a circular formation of zombies coming at you from all sides. To be honest, it's pretty easy. This is probably the best place to really learn how to horde on Dead Ops Arcade 2. And again, if practice makes perfect, I guarantee you guys are not going to be able to beat Dead Ops Arcade 2 on your first try. But for the most part, if you keep just practicing, it didn't take me too long. Honestly, this probably took me around 2 weeks to really beat it and finally get it. And obviously, there's a little bit of luck involved in terms of drops and picking them up and stuff like that. But let's go to the fifth stage, and the fifth stage is probably one of the harder ones. This is where it starts getting a little bit more tricky. You're introduced to this challenge round called the Shadow Boogie, which are zombies that kind of transform into ravens and swiftly go to different parts of the map. They really distract your vision, especially once you're in that bird's eye view. But once you're past this round, which is called the Shadow Boogie, it's honestly not too difficult. And at the end of this area, you will be introduced to the Room of Fate. Now, to get to the Room of Fate, you just have to go around like in a circular cake formation all the way up to the top, drop in the hole, and then you will be able to choose your Room of Fate. Now, for the people that don't know what the Room of Fate is, the Room of Fate is where you're able to choose one of 4 different abilities which can really enhance your gameplay, such as a permanent death machine, having better luck with the drops and more of a point multiplier. You can have a bird that's permanently with you, or you can move faster. And in my opinion, the best one, hands down, for solo is definitely going for the bird. The second best one is probably Fortune if you're going for 2-player. The third best one is the chicken, and the fourth best one is the death machine. The death machine has really been nerfed since the first Dead Ops Arcade 1, so that is the order I'd highly recommend. And once you're out of that stage, it's quite simple. And moving on to the fifth stage, this is where things get quite difficult. You're really in a secluded and narrow area, and once you're basically basically out of that, it's quite simple. Again, I would highly recommend using speed boosts or nukes over lives, because every 200,000 points you get is a life, and having max lives gives you various extra bonuses like more AI units, maybe more boosts, maybe more nukes. It's really awesome. So that is probably the key to actually winning Dead Ops Arcade 2, is to managing to keep your lives at 9 to get awesome things that help you throughout the rounds. And to be honest, if you don't pass the first 5 or 6 stages without losing a life, you're probably going to beat the game, which is awesome. And going on to the 6th stage, this is by far, in my opinion, the Blood Lake, the easiest stage out there. You're introduced to the meatballs, but the stage is massive. There is a couple different ways you can get like a free wraps or a free couple nukes that I can have on gameplay right now, and it's honestly probably one of the simplest stages out there. But the next stage is where it starts getting really hectic. You're introduced to your first boss zombie, which is the Margwa, and to be honest, it's not that difficult. Kill the Margwa, the zombies around him will all die. Once you beat him, he's pretty simple. You have to shoot down all his 3 heads and then keep shooting at him for a bit extra, and then he will die. In the next area, the Chinatown, it is arguably the hardest stage in Dead Ops Arcade 2 out there, which is really weird. The reason why is there's not much space in general. They start to put in traps. There's a boss round that actually these guys come around and plant trip mines all around the place, making it really difficult to go, and they're extremely fast. So honestly, on this stage, I would recommend saving up all your nukes and your speed boosts to use on this stage, because once you have passed this stage, you are almost guaranteed to win, especially if you are still at 9 lives or still above 5 lives, in my opinion. Now, the next stage is where you are finally introduced to the Room of Judgment. Now, the Room of Judgment is where you were able to upgrade your different fates. So let's say if you get the death machine, you get this blue death machine that is able to vaporize the enemies. If you choose the bird, you get a second bird. If you choose the feet, when you speed boost, you get a fire trail that slows down the zombies, which is really awesome. And if you choose the fortune, I'm not 100% sure what you get, but I just feel you get more points in general. And honestly, if in my opinion, for solo, just yet again go for the boots, because you want that fire trail. And for 2-player, probably go for the death machine, in my opinion. I think that's probably the better one, but again, it's all up to your opinion, and it's arguably your choice in the end. Now finally, these next 3 stages are quite funny because they're actually evac, combine, and metro from Black Ops 3 multiplayer, which I found absolutely hilarious. They aren't too hard, to be honest. They're pretty open stages. All you have to be aware of is the challenge rounds that you're going to be getting, like the GI units, or for example, the mini Brutuses from Mob of the Dead that kind of come in as regular zombies. It's pretty easy, to be honest, but the third to last stage, the sort of ring of trees with a snowy area, is probably, again, another hard stage in zombies, because A, you get a lot of dogs, and B, the area, in my opinion, is very glitchy. There's a lot of invisible barriers that you can't really see, but to be honest, again, use your speed boost, use your nukes, you'll be able to get a lot of them, and once you're out of that area, you are almost guaranteed to win. The next stage, which is like a snowy rooftop area, which kind of reminds me of Assassin's Creed, it's quite easy. Again, there really isn't a challenge round, if I remember correctly. It's got a lot of space, and for 2 players, this is probably one of the easier stages yet again. And finally, we are at the Cyber Silverback boss battle. Now, before you actually get to fight him, you have to go through 3 rounds, and during these 3 rounds, you get 2 Margwas that spawn in during the 2 of the 3 rounds. So you have to kill these 2 Margwas, which is a pain in the ass, in my opinion. And then finally, once you are all beat up, you have to take down the Cyber Silverback. Now, to be honest, when I played, this is where I lost almost all of my lives. I was at 9 lives when I went to fight the Cyber Silverback, and I lost 5 while in the arena. And it's really crazy. And to be honest, guys, this arena has a lot of tall grass, which is a very bad problem because you can't see, especially if you are in first person. And again, a good tip is just to be aware of your surroundings, get a lot of drops that spawn, and just make sure you are able to hoard and not get hit by the zombies. And that is honestly all I can say. Get every first person that drops, make sure you don't get hit 3 times or else you'll down. And that is basically it, guys. That is how you beat the Dead Ops Arcade 2 game mode. It's a lot of fun. You get to save the Fido, the siege chicken, and then you get this awesome little cutscene to end it off. And one more thing, when you're in the Room of Fate, you are actually able to identify the stones in there. My friend QP Derek QP, or my friend's friend, the Frenzy's friend, actually made an awesome guide. I'll put that down in the link in the description, so if you guys are having trouble with that, I can easily help you out with that there. He can, obviously. But that is going to be the video. Did hope you enjoyed this awesome tutorial about how to actually beat Dead Ops Arcade 2. And once you are done with the last stage, you'll get sent back to the first stage, and then it's 10 times harder, to be honest. And I have never really gone through that. But thank you again so much for watching. If you did enjoy, please make sure to leave a like. I thought this was awesome. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next